you always want to keep it down and go back. Come on, keep it down. Keep it down and get back in your place.
At the age of 17, while walking home from school one day, Rufus Johnson was shot in the face. Today, nearly 40 years later, he's walking a new path, bringing his life experience into the classroom.
Always keep your hand off the what?
Trigger. The goal of the program is to educate the do's and don'ts of firearms.
Never walk in front of a firearm if it's loaded or it's not loaded.
Johnson is a certified concealed carry firearm instructor in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Every gun that you have should be in a safety box.
His company, Real Truth Inc., has trained adults in the community for years, but the more time he spent training, the more it became clear to him who really needed his help.
I would go to the gun range and I would look at how white males and females younger were actually getting trained and knew how to use firearms correctly. And then every time I would go to the gun range and I would come back to the urban community, to the black community, it was almost always this gun violence. So I felt some kind of way. I said, why are we not being trained?
Each one of y'all is gonna come pick up the firearm without putting your hands on the trigger and gonna come right back to that line.
Johnson developed a curriculum, the Youth and Public Safety Training Program, and is partnering with a local charter school network to bring his experimental trainings into the classroom.
You left-handed or right-handed?
I'm left-handed.
Okay, you should be just like this.
I'm not gonna lie, my first thoughts, I'm like, why is they teaching these kids how to hold guns and stuff?
You've never heard nothing like that before in a school. Usually you gotta find this on a website, you gotta go somewhere else to learn this.
The only real gun is the one holstered to Johnson's chest.
So let's see if it's one in the chamber. So what happens when you find a firearm that don't have a magazine in it, that don't mean it's not one in the chamber.
The students use only prop guns for the trainings.
We're not encouraging students to go out and get guns. That's not what this class is for. But what we are saying is, listen, if you're going to be affected by it anyway, then let's do it the right way. That's what we're doing. So we're doing prevention.
According to a recent study, firearm deaths have overtaken car crashes as the leading cause of death by trauma in the U.S. But because Johnson's program is so new, there's currently no data to support its impact in the community.
Older children tend to act very much on their emotions and their impulses, meaning adolescence.
Dr. Dorothy Novick, a pediatrician at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, says that while education of gun safety can be helpful for adults, research shows that teenagers will often still mishandle a firearm when unsupervised, even if they've taken classes.
I wouldn't say it's wasted to teach children about firearm safety. I would say it's not enough. So while it is useful to teach children the importance of staying away from firearms, if we really want to keep them safe from firearms, we need to prevent access.
I'd have never thought this would be something that we would be doing in schools, gun safety.
Back at Dawn Community High School, it was a little unnerving how nearly every student and teacher we spoke to had their own personal experience with gun-related incidents.
A week ago, one of my former players was shot. And when that happens, you realize the reality of gun violence in our city.
I had friends from my old school who actually got shot by a gun, but I think it was by accident. But yes, he had passed away from a gunshot.
My cousin, he accidentally shot himself in the head. He was playing with it, and then he had it by his head, and then it went off. It went off.
During the 6-week safety course, if a student needs more resources to deal with past trauma, they're referred to a partnered program that offers additional counseling services.
We go over the criteria with them and say, hey, has this happened in the last 12 months? Have you seen someone shot in the last 12 months? Was it a close relative or a friend? Have you been to a funeral? Most of the time they don't think it's trauma because it's normal. It's their environment and they see it. So a lot of times they don't know that they've experienced trauma.
Today, more than 50 students are graduating from the program. For Johnson, he just hopes the knowledge he shares will be enough to keep them safe.
If I could save one and one could teach another, reach one, teach one, my job is completed. As long as they understand that they can educate somebody else or they can show somebody else gun safety or what they learned from me, that's all I need. That's all the accolades I need.